All right. Good evening. Welcome to the October 5th Town of Clifton Park Town Board meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Teresa, if you call the roll.
Councilman Whalen?
Here.
Councilwoman Standard?
Here.
Councilwoman Wallowit? Here. Supervisor Barry?
Here, entertain a motion. You got the minutes from the 14th and 21st, right? Entertain a motion to approve town board meeting minutes of 9/14, 9/21.
So moved. Second?
By Ms. Wallowit, second by Mrs. Standard. Discussion?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barry?
Yes, communications and announcements. Few things I want to discuss tonight. First is I presented the budget, tentative budget, to the clerk on the 30th of September. And I just want to briefly discuss some of the highlights. I won't read it line by line. Just a few highlights. So it will be with the 2021 budget. There is no general fund property tax once again for the town of Clifton Park. And that is a definite in the budget. That's solid. We did not exceed the New York State tax cap for 2021, nor have we exceeded it any other year. No fund balance monies were used to balance the budget, which I think is another important item considering the difficulties that private and public organizations are experiencing due to the COVID New York State shutdown and the like. The general fund is right now proposed at $18,081,131, and this accounts for a decrease of $177,000 year over year for adopted budget. So we have a decrease in spending. The highway budget for 2021, $5.747 million. That's a 1% decrease over the 2020 adopted budget. The highway fund tax is proposed to remain flat at 30.82 cents per thousand of assessed value. And just to give you an idea, for a home that is valued at $259,000, the total highway tax for the year will be $41 as it stands in the tentative budget. We did add some additional money for paving when compared to the 2020 adopted budget. And again, for comparison's sake, the highway tax was 87 cents per thousand of assessed value in 2000. So significantly less than it was 21 years ago, which I think is a major achievement. The EMS tax rate, which is shared amongst Clifton Park Affluent EMS as well as Ballston Lake EMS, that will increase from 25.19 cents per thousand of assessed value to 27.48 cents of assessed value. The EMS tax overall has held steady in recent years due to the burgeoning healthcare industry in Clifton Park and an expanding commercial tax base. For comparison purposes, the EMS tax rate in 2000 was 26 cents per thousand. So it's slightly higher now by a cent and a half than it was 21 years ago. Again, I think that's a major achievement. The 2021 budget continues the town's strong commitment to maintaining and improving infrastructure. Other areas of the budget with significant spending levels relate to healthcare, equipment, vehicles, recreational venue upgrades, and other important investments. The town has continued to maintain overall cost control with employee benefits. Our hospital, medical, and dental benefits are flat. That expense is flat year over year. We just recently, within the last couple of years, passed what we were spending in 2011. So we've done a great job maintaining that line item and that expense, which has exploded for many organizations, both private and public. In addition to investments in vehicles, equipment, trails, parks, and other important areas of the town operations, the 2021 budget includes funds for a new phone system. So hoping to move forward on that. But overall, the 2021 budget will just be a continuation of how our team operates on a daily basis, continually analyzing operations for areas of opportunity leading to increased efficiency and expense reductions. There's no doubt 2020 has been an extremely challenging year for operations, revenues for private and public organizations. As I mentioned before, the town of Clifton Park is consistently working to reduce expenses and become more efficient. The town's strong fiscal position was highlighted by a bond rating upgrade by Moody's Investors Service in 2019. Moody's cited Clifton Park's low debt level, strong reserve position, and management's proven history of conservative budgeting practices as positive factors when they upgraded us to AA2 as opposed to AA1. Recently, the controller released fiscal stress test results, which they do for every municipality each year. We scored extremely well. Certainly no fiscal stress, and there's different categories and different levels of stress. And then there's no stress. We are in the no stress category. Our tax base continues to grow by design, and that's now surpassed 5.3 billion. But we know a solid financial footing can turn negative very quickly. We have experience, and we certainly have a lot of foresight going into situations like the pandemic, New York shutdown, because looking back through the last couple of decades, the challenges that were presented after 9/11 and the housing crisis and other recessionary periods that we've experienced, it's the fact that we've always prepared for downturns, for a rainy day, has enabled us to get through those difficult times even stronger on the other side, which is extremely important. Now, moving into the remainder of the budget process, pending personnel changes due to retirements and ongoing discussions with partner organizations will present some decisions for the future of town departments. As I said, we're continually analyzing operations each and every day. That will continue through this budget process, and I'm looking forward to some more opportunities for savings for Clifton Park residents. But at the end of the day, everybody wants low taxes with a positive outlook. They want well-funded schools, important services close to home, plentiful parks and recreational facilities, and superior programs and activities for people of all ages. And our growing commercial tax base through valuable redevelopment projects and conservative budgeting practices, as described by Moody's, has placed the town in a position to navigate difficult economic conditions and provide stability for the residents of Clifton Park. And that's ultimately our goal, to ensure that investors in the town of Clifton Park receive a return on their investment. And there's a lot we can do in that regard with how we manage the town. So we're very pleased to see sharp increases in property values over the last several years, certainly, as well as a sharp increase in the last couple of years. So that's the highlights on the budget as we head into the process, and very much looking forward to it. I think this will be a year where there's more changes than normal as we go through the budget process. So we're looking forward to that. Secondly, this is our second year of the Community Action Fund, and the Community Action Fund is a tremendous program. It's a fund that is sourced by your donations of bottles and cans at the transfer station. So we accept donations of bottles and cans at the transfer station. We have an agreement with a private company. They come pick it up twice a week. They cash in the bottles and cans and write the town a check. We save that money over the year, and then as we get into the fall, we take applications that organizations fill out and present grants to them. We have a committee that we appointed that works on this initiative, and they'll be meeting soon. I'm glad to say, and this is our second year, we helped at least 17 organizations last year with grants that are not taxpayer money, which I think is something very unique. It's just bottles and cans. That's all it is. So a total of 24 applications were received, actually 4 more than last year. Overall, we have requests of 17,665. And as of October 1st, we had 15,000 in the account, but I would say by the time we're ready to award the grants and decisions are made, that will be higher than 15. I'm not sure exactly what it would be, but hopefully in the 16,000 area at least. So just a huge increase over last year, by the way. So we look forward to helping a lot of organizations. To give you an idea, we have Boy Scout troops, Girl Scout troops, Saratoga Center for the Family, Clifton Park Elks, High Five Sports, Community Hospice Foundation, our Green Committee. So Faith Baptist Food Pantry. So we have 24 applications, so we'll work through that process, and then probably a month we'll be ready to award those checks. Makes a big difference for a lot of people. I do want to mention one thing. We've had some retirements lately, and we talked about them. We have another pending retirement from somebody that a lot of you know. He's been with the town going on 38 years. Somebody you might see at one of our high-profile operations, and that's the transfer station. Jeff Vetter, who's been the manager of the transfer station for a number of years, will be retiring at the end of the month. So we wish him well. Thank him for his service, many years of service. Retiring is never an easy decision. It's a personal decision, and it takes a lot of thought, obviously, for anybody that's in that position. But we certainly wish Jeff all the best and appreciate him helping us as he transitions into retirement. I want to mention yesterday we had Shredding Day. Shredding Day was a great success. One of the busiest ones we've had. We offer the free service twice a year. We collect food for the Jonesville Food Pantry. And usually it's about anywhere from 12 to 1,500 pounds of food. It was certainly that yesterday, perhaps more. And I just want to thank everybody that came out to help. It ended up a beautiful day. A lot of times those fall shredding days are, windy, rainy at times, a little chillier. But yesterday was beautiful. And I want to thank everybody for their donations. We'll bring the food donations down to the Jonesville Pantry very soon. One other item I want to mention coming up this week, I'm putting together just a basic discussion group. It's not a quote-unquote town committee or an advisory group for the town or anything, just a discussion group that I'll be leading as part of an effort to make sure that the divisions that we've seen across the country do not occur here in Clifton Park, and that certainly should be the goal of ours. It's been a strong goal of mine. So people of diverse backgrounds and areas of the world that they've emigrated from, just some tremendous people with great stories of their journey to get to where they are today and here in Clifton Park. We all have a story, but these folks are tremendous contributors to the town of Clifton Park, and I think having a discussion group to talk about some of the issues facing our country and society are very important. So I envision this discussion group to eventually turn into a group of action where the group will be working on town projects and working to improve the town of Clifton Park in any way that we possibly can. So we're having our first meeting this week. Looking forward to it, and I'll report back future meetings as progress is made there. All right. Any other communications or announcements?
Yeah, so I.
Oh, yeah.
Just to take a minute to acknowledge Councilman Stanford and the staff, especially from Parks and Rec and various other people within the staff for an amazing Saturday National Night Out event. It was just everything a National Night Out should be. We were there to honor emergency response teams, sheriffs, troopers, EMTs, nurses, doctors, our own security department, have I forgotten anyone? It was amazing. Children could go through fire engines and ambulances, and there was demonstrations going on. All of our fire departments were there. Many of our service organizations were there, Rotary, Elks, Kiwanis, some businesses, the Scouts were there with demonstrations. And there are food vendors, which made it absolutely perfect. It was a wonderful, great afternoon.
Yeah, well.
Concerned because of distancing and masking, but we had a great crowd. We had a wonderful time. And, I want to acknowledge all the hard work that went into that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a beautiful day, and it was great to see so many first responders. Certainly, they deserve to be celebrated each and every day. There's no doubt what they do for our town, our county, our country is just tremendous. And we thank them every chance we get. So, yeah, there was a very, very nice event. And you're right. You think about the concern, obviously, that we all have with events that are taking place. We will have Halloween on the Common this year, as we have in past years. It'll be different, but everything we've done has been different. We operated the pools for several weeks, but it wasn't in the traditional way that the pools are managed. We instituted a tremendous number of safety protocols and just new ways of doing things. Same with the full day camps. We ran an 8-week full day camp. Well, it was different. Successful, but it was different. Same with the sports camps. I got a call today from one of the TV stations asking about Regal Cinemas and the effect that closure has on Clifton Park and the mall, and has a tremendous effect. The brick and mortar retail was under tremendous pressure before COVID. Now with more people shopping online, obviously, especially there were very few stores open for a long period of time. That's placed more pressure on brick and mortar retail. Mall properties, our downtown business area needs foot traffic, and there's only so many generators of that foot traffic. You have big box stores, you have places like at the mall, Planet Fitness, you have the Sky Zone, you have Regal Cinemas. They're all big foot traffic generators, and that foot traffic helps everybody on that property and businesses in other plazas in the Exit 9 area. So when those are closed, it has a terrible effect on the economy and all of those small businesses, and I hate to see it. I go to church every Sunday. It's done safely. That's indoors, right? But it's very different than what it used to be. But it's done safely, and I think from talking to people as I greet them at the door, they seem very, very accustomed to the new protocols and feel good about what the church has done. And that's being replicated throughout the town and throughout many areas of our country. So, it can be done safely. Can cinemas be open safely? Sure. And that's what I said today. Cinemas, again, indoors, can be done safely if it's done in the right fashion. The reporter told me that New York and New Mexico are the only ones that aren't allowing cinemas to open. So I said, oh, okay. Well, I wasn't aware of that, but I do know that there's areas of the country that for some time now, because new movies haven't been released, what they've been doing is playing the oldies, the original Star Wars or Ghostbusters or Caddyshack, some of those classics from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, whatever. And people have been going, just to get back to the movies and, get that activity once again on their schedule that they really enjoy. So, I told the reporter, I don't know why we can't open them, even if it's on a limited basis with new protocols. And if the new movies aren't being released, then why can't we? If they want to do, I don't even know if Regal wants to do this, but if they do replicate what's been done in other parts of the country, I've been told it's been successful. Play some of those older movies and go from there. But so anyway, it's a real problem, and there's certain areas of our economy that have been hit worse than others, and it's a big concern for us now and into the future. And that's why we're trying to control expenses as much as possible in the tentative budget. That's why we're looking for more savings as we go through the budget process. Extremely important to the future of the town and to our tax stability, property values, and obviously people being able to afford and invest in the town. Any other updates or communications? All right, well, let's get right to the business at hand. I'm going to go to our first resolution of the evening, and I'll ask Teresa to read that, please.
Resolution number 177 of 2020, a resolution appointing Anthony Morelli to the Clifton Park Town Board. Whereas a vacancy exists on the Clifton Park Town Board due to the resignation of James Romano effective October 1st, 2020, and whereas pursuant to New York State Town Law, Section 64, Sub 5, the Clifton Park Town Board has the authority to appoint an individual to the Town Board to fill such seat for the remainder of Mr. Romano's term, pending an election to be held in November 2021. And whereas Anthony Morelli, 29 Gloucester Street, Clifton Park, has indicated his interest in being appointed to the town board for the remainder of Mr. Romano's term. And whereas Anthony Morelli grew up in Saratoga County, attending Christian Brothers Academy, and upon graduation enrolling at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute for a 4-year Navy ROTC scholarship. And whereas Anthony Morelli served as an officer on active duty in the U.S. Navy for 10 years before transitioning into the Navy Reserves, where he has been recalled to active duty for 2 one-year deployments and has completed over 20 years of military service. And whereas Anthony Morelli holds a Bachelor of Science from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute and a Master of Business Administration from the George Washington University and a Juris Doctorate from Albany Law School. And whereas Anthony Morelli is an attorney in private practice with a focus on family and criminal law, and serves on the board of directors for the Saratoga County Bar Association. And whereas Anthony Morelli currently serves his community as a board member for the Miss Shen softball, as well as being an active parishioner of St. Edward's and Confessor Church. And whereas Anthony Morelli previously served town residents as a volunteer member of the Town Environmental Conservation Commission, Zoning Board, and Industrial Development Agency, rising to the position of chairman. And whereas Anthony Morelli has submitted his resignation from his current role as deputy town attorney and counsel for the town planning board. And whereas Anthony Morelli has lived in Clifton Park for over 15 years, where he is raising his 3 children, Andrew, Morgan, and Addison. Now therefore be it resolved that Anthony Morelli has the experience and qualifications that make him uniquely suited to be a member of the Clifton Park Town Board. Will be it further resolved that Anthony Morelli, 29 Gloucester Street, Clifton Park, is hereby appointed to the Clifton Park Town Board effective immediately through December 31st, 2021, pursuant to New York State Town Law 65.5. And be it further resolved that the sum of $4,157 be paid over the remainder of the year with the transfer from Legislative Board Jay Romano to Legislative Board Anthony Morelli.
Jay Romano. All right. I'll move the adoption. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Mrs. Standard. It's a sincere honor to consider the appointment tonight of soon-to-be Councilman Tony Morelli. I know I kind of let the cat out of the bag there on the boat, but pretty confident. Tony has, you just heard incredible background that he brings to this board, and his military and leadership experience, I think, are particularly important to this board, and something that this board and town needs now and will for a very long time. Tony is a busy dad with three children actively involved in sports and all kinds of other activities, doing wonderful things. He's always found time to invest a great deal of his time and energy to serving the town, and that's something that is also very special to myself, and I'm sure the other board members. He has a very diverse professional background, a plethora of experience across various disciplines and areas of importance to operating the town of Clifton Park. So he has a very deep understanding of how the town operates, how committees work together, and how the role of the town board member fits in the dynamic of running the town on a day-to-day basis. So that keen understanding and experience on many levels is also very important. I know that'll give you a very, very good running start and a seamless transition into this role. So what I'd like to do is after we vote on this, we're going to invite Judge Pellegali, who thank you for being here tonight, sir.
My pleasure.
Tony and his family will come up, and Tony will be sworn in, and then he'll take his place on the board. So, any other discussion at this time? Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sandberg?
Yes.
Councilwoman Malowin?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes. Congratulations, Councilman Morelli. Make it official. If we can get you sworn in here, we'll get our quarters a little more cramped than usual with our distancing, but come on up and you can.
Yeah.
Raise your right hand. I, Anthony F. Morelli, do solemnly swear
I, Anthony F. Morelli, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Town Councilman for the Town of Clifton Park,
of the office of Town Councilman of the Town of Clifton Park.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
You want to introduce your family that's with you tonight, Tony?
Sure. In addition to, this is my mother, Carol, my father, Art, and my children, Andrew, Morgan, and Addison. My children are students at Shen, Katie Middle School, 7th grade, a senior at high school, and a sophomore at high school.
Fantastic. Well, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you.
I want to thank Tony for the honor of swearing him in. Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for being here.
Judge Balagalli's no stranger to this room. It's been a few hours.
Jim Romano.
Yeah, he's no stranger. Yeah, go right ahead, take your time.
I think you can take this off.
Yeah, your family.
Yeah.
Swords the enemy.
That's right.
All right. And I want to thank former town councilman Jim Romano for being here tonight, and thank him once again for everything he's done. Thank you, Jim. Hey, Jim, enjoy your Monday, will you? Enjoy your Monday night.
Hopefully I'll be back in January.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge, appreciate it.
Thanks, Judge.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, so, back to business here. All right, we do have a presentation tonight. I don't see him. He must be out there.
He's coming.
Oh, all right, good. Shad Treat from Siemens is here this evening. Hello, sir. If you could come right up to the podium here. And Siemens is obviously somebody we're working with on the streetlight acquisition project, which has been a lengthy process, certainly not Siemens' fault. At this point, NICEAG is all set. So that's signed, sealed, and ready to go. We're still waiting for National Grid's plan and our agreement to be approved by the PSC. So that's still in play. Hopefully, in the next month, we hear something. Right? So, but we're very much looking forward to that. So, a while back, thinking ahead as to when we might be able to open the senior center again for classes indoors. We've been offering a tremendous amount of outdoor classes. We've started with very limited indoor activities. We've incorporated a lot of the safety protocols that I mentioned before that everybody's doing. And we've done with all of our operations, temperature checks and signing in and the like. Trying to think what might work as far as improving the air in the facility. So when we do go back indoors on a more expanded level, how can we make it that much safer for the seniors and everybody that frequents the center? So looked at some different options and spoke with Shad. He was one of the people I spoke with, and talked about ionization, which is something that is used as an application in many public and private organizations. So I asked them to be here tonight to talk about how it works, what their system consists of, how it's implemented, how it helps the situation, and why it's something we should spend some money on. We did take information that we derived from our research and bid this idea out. Siemens was the low bidder. So I'll hand it over to you, Shad, to just talk about, again, the system, why it helps, and why it's something we should invest in.
So thanks for being here. It's great if you take this off.
Hey, it's up to you, wherever you're comfortable.
No, you guys have it. So, again, thanks for letting me come in here. Yeah, we're an energy company, with a technology component, and we mainly focus on buildings. So ironically, when buildings weren't open, we had to pivot pretty significantly on what our technologies can do. So we have a whole robust, amount of technology associated with buildings. We can actually promote social distancing with some of them. We can talk about air purification, which we're gonna talk about now, and we can do some tracking and get various things in buildings. So one of the nice things about this ionization tool we're gonna talk about, it's relatively low cost in implementation, and it aligns with what we're seeing with the requirements about these new MERV filters in your facilities. So we'll talk very briefly about the science behind it, and then just kind of have a re-understand. If you have any questions, feel free to interject. But essentially contaminants, right? That's what we're dealing with in the air. And COVID is one of those. We've got MRSA, other things. We've got hair particles, things like that that are in the air. And so with the solution we're talking about, just non-ozone needle 0.5 polar ionization is a very specific type of ionization. Historically, ionization, when it's created in nature, when you go to the mountains, when you used to be able to travel and go to the beach, which is nice, you get that good feeling. That's what ionization is in nature. And what this tool does is it artificially creates this non-ozone ions in your airstream and pushes it into your rooms. So we're talking about your senior center. We can put it in your air handling unit, push it through the system into the spaces and saturate it with healthy ions in the space. There's a couple of things, and we'll talk about that. But if we're thinking about air and what the real issue is that we've got with COVID is hairs are about 80 to 90 microns. Pretty small. I didn't really know what a micron was before this all started. COVID is 0.125. It's significantly less. And the analogy that everybody uses that I thought was most effective was if hair follicles were a semi-truck, then the actual COVID is a sugar ant. That's how small it is. And that's the problem we've got. It travels distances, it gets recirculated, it doesn't fall to the ground like a lot of other contaminants in the air. That's why the social distancing is important of 6 feet or more. And we're targeting why we're worried about this. So there's two problems. We've got to address how do we either kill the bacteria in the air, or how do we make them larger and be able to filter them out? And that's why ionization is one of the tools that we use in this, because it does two things. When we ionize air, what happens is we agglomerate, so the ions actually encompass the particles in the air, and then the light particles actually get attracted to each other through the ionization process. So we take that 0.125 micron unit, we actually make it larger. We make it larger, we make it heavier, it can fall to the ground faster, or if it gets recirculated, it's more likely to get filtered into the system. And that's why you hear about these MERV 13 filters that are out there and how they're an improvement. They are. They will help capture more things, but even the best filters out there still allow particles to go through that are less than that COVID is. The other thing you can do is try to render it inert or kill it. So we have some lab testing, which I've got here, in particular to the actual COVID. We weren't able to test it until we actually get COVID samples. So I think June, we actually were able to test it, and we got it approved in a lab testing. It kills it in 30 minutes at about a 99.4% rate. So in a space like this, it's open, there's places for things to hide. We can't guarantee it kills it at that rate, but if we saturate the area, it's going to be more likely to help battle and fight what you guys are already trying to do with fresh air, bringing more fresh air in or filtering this out. So that's really the two benefits that we see with trying to promote this. It's been used for years. It's not a new technology. I just deal in energy, so it was never really an energy saver, so we never really promoted it. We did a lot in our divisions that deal with airlines and cruise ships, because MRSA actually was one of the big things that was coming out. Was people were concerned about traveling. So we also have some other things like mold that are highlighted in there, and MRSA. So you can also see it's, regardless, hopefully we get beyond this, it's going to have an impact just with air purification in general. So institutions like that, where we got people that are at risk, I think it's a great application. And like I said, it's not a heavy lift or a heavy expense to help improve on what's already being done with these facilities to make it safer.
What other applications do you find this type of system in?
Anything that moves air, we can put this in the application. So we can actually put it on even on hand dryers now. They're little units. The ones that go in the air handlings, like Legos, they're these big blue bricks, and basically you put it in front of what they call the coil. So when you're blowing air, heating it, cooling it, it gets pushed through the system. So right, it produces millions of ions, saturates the area, and promotes that cleansing process. So the recommendation we have is to run that system. The energy guys are written to run it regularly 24/7 because then you're constantly purifying surfaces. Because when we think about it, we're saturating it and it's on a surface, we can actually, that surface is going to be hit with the ions. It just becomes an added cleansing process to what you're already doing in keeping your facilities clean. So again, that's one recommendation. And the other question I often get is maintenance. What's the maintenance on this? So other solutions out there have different maintenance plans. Ours is two options. One is, depending on the application, it can be self-clean. You don't have to worry about it for the next 10, 15 years. It will self-clean. And the ones that can't self-clean because they don't fit the application, it's once a year you come down and you wipe down the actual brick. And it's a pretty simple installation and low maintenance. We're talking about the actual tool itself.
Yeah, and some of the savings associated with this is the town actually doing the install with oversight from Siemens.
Yeah, it's that easy. It's a couple of zip screws and you basically wire power to it. So our guys will do that to keep the cost low, to keep you guys under budget so it gets implemented. We're doing it locally at Environmental Insulator Manor down in Troy. If you guys are familiar with that facility. Union College is actually implementing this in many of their buildings where they have students monitoring. We're actually doing a MasterCard down in the city right now. So nationwide, it's in Air Force One. It's not a subject right now, but it has been in Air Force One for a long time. And I have a whole list of companies that I can send out to who wants to see what's been implemented. But we've got like 150,000 installations in the last 10 years that we've done. So if you have much more questions right now.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of talk about the MER 13 filters, and basically because the state is saying, well, certain businesses are required to have these filters, but not every air handling system can adapt to MER 13 filter, right? I mean, it basically restricts the air. You can burn out motors if it's not built for that type of filter.
Absolutely. You're gonna see a bigger burnout rate. You're gonna see some comfort changes. So this building has a building automation system in it. You get those MER filters impact that, the ability to control it more effectively. So again, we recommend got CDC guidelines for now. Once we get beyond this, you'll be able to implement this, keep this running in conjunction with recommended filters post-COVID.
Well, yeah, and I did have some questions of engineers about filters, and they said the results were very mixed, but they are very expensive because these types of filters that we're talking about need to be replaced very often on a monthly basis. So we're talking thousands of dollars. We're talking it was estimated more money for filters in 1 year than the system that you're bringing to us. Put it that way. And I think it's, with the filters, the results are mixed. Not an expert in ionization, but, obviously it's not a brand new application. But one I think is going to be that much more prevalent with the issues we're having with COVID. It's not going away. We're going to be living with COVID for a long, long time. It's a virus. Just think about all the viruses that we've lived with for a long, long time. It's going to be the same here. So it's not going away next month. It's not going away in 6 months. It's on our conscience every day because it's tracked very closely. Every case is tracked. Every hospitalization that is supposedly due to COVID is tracked very closely. And I guess you could partially blame me because I post, I've been doing it for months, posting my own statistics based on that. But I think it's something that people are interested in. So COVID's not going away. Other viruses are going to be with us for a long time. So this can work across not only COVID, but many other concerning viruses and just general better air quality, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, one of the things that when we were talking originally, and you stressed that it was ozone free, which I thought would be a negative since I was a kid, all I've heard about is ozone holes and everything else, so I figure the more ozone the better. Why is it good that it's ozone free?
Ozone, when it's created in massive amounts, is bad for your lungs. So if you Google ionization, you actually get a lot more results now because everybody's come up with these little handheld units, dust units. But what you really want to be aware of is ones that create ozone is a bad thing for your chest and your breathing system. So it still kill and render bacteria and contaminants in most cases, but at the same time, you're creating ozone that's bad for your system. And then the other one is needlepoint bipolar would be the other recommendation. And if you Google that, you'll get a bunch of results around, again, some of the good and some of the bad. And again, there are a lot of good technologies out there, but we feel this is the most effective one. And we have firm results on effectiveness with MRSA, E. coli, and
Very good. Well, I think that's a good summary of what we're looking at. Are there any questions from the board at this time?
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Waller.
Just, because of my confusion, does it have to do with air quality or filtering?
air quality. So it puts ions into the airspace, and then it attaches itself to things that are in the air. So the virus is up in the air, when we speak and project, it's gonna agglomerate to it, and it's either gonna render it inert or make it larger and fall to the ground and get filtered better. It's an additive to that, but it's not the filter. It's creating ions in the space.
Do you come in a regular basis and check to see if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, check air quality?
We can. We typically don't, because if we believe in the ions and create that safer environment, as long as it's producing ions, which it will tell you it's producing them, it shouldn't be an issue. But we can certainly talk about taking some measurements regularly, and they actually make ion meters that we're actually targeted to give students and kids to teach them about ionization.
To see if it's really working and doing what it's supposed to do.
I think the ion tool is like $50 to $100, so even just supplying them and testing it.
Yeah.
Did you discuss, probably more for the supervisor, air quality that, affects other places, so in the workplace, like here in town hall and the courthouse, where other people gather?
We haven't yet. I would love to. I think we want to test it here, make sure you guys are satisfied with it, and I would love the opportunity.
No.
You'll do as many as you want.
I was gonna say one.
Yeah, if you want to buy 30 of them, I'll do them.
No, I just, we chose the senior center, and I considered that's important, but I was thinking of soon courthouse places too. See, I'll follow, I'd like to see, maybe a report about coming out and checking and kind of get a report.
But would the price be different for each building, or?
We have to do it by each building because it's gonna
Yeah.
depend on the air handling
Right.
system that you have and how it's serviced in each room. But it's a little lift. If we have drawings, and I can send out my guys.
Good. Let's do that.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good idea. Yeah, we'll do that. And the reason we picked the senior center was kind of following on what we've been doing since the beginning of the pandemic, which is, protecting the most vulnerable. Making sure that they're protected first and foremost. We talked a lot about isolation that people have faced, people that, haven't left the house. Well, they didn't leave the house at all for quite some time. Maybe they're leaving a little bit now, but they're still very much in isolation. And their routines are no longer there. And part of that routine for a lot of people is going to the senior center. So moving in this direction, I thought would be a great first step. Get a good sense of what we're doing, and then move forward with other applications. The good news is we've been open. We've never stopped working. I mean, all departments in the town have been open and operating throughout the entire pandemic. Every workday, there have been people in every department to answer your call. We did lock the door for several weeks when we were forced to go to a workforce reduction level due to mandates by Governor Cuomo. But even when the doors were locked, you could still call and get an appointment. You could still call any department and get your questions answered, which, that's a commitment we made. Then we opened the doors June 2nd. And I knock on wood, we, again, new protocols, new ways of doing things. And so far, so good. Everybody's done a great job adjusting schedules, adjusting their, those, in some cases, work areas, just to space people out a little more. And also wearing masks when they're away from their workstation, so on and so forth. So I think everything that we've implemented here leading to June 2nd, so far, I want to jinx this, but so far has been successful. But we have very limited experience with the senior center, because like I said, it's been extremely limited with anybody being inside. So I think we can start here and definitely look at, so we'll get you those plans. Probably you get with Steve Myers, and he can get those for you. Now, what's the time frame, if we approve this tonight, what's the time frame for installation and?
It's typically 1 to 2 weeks with the products, and I say this with a caveat because there's a lot of interest in this, the supply chain, we just don't know right now.
Sure.
But we're still getting them 1 to 2 weeks in most applications, and you're only talking a couple of bricks for this, that's not extensive, so I would say we'd have it to you in a couple of weeks from the time we get the order, and we'll do it immediately, get it moving. So,
Okay, great.
that's a few weeks.
All right, great. Any other questions, Michelle, at this time? Yeah. Well, thank you. That was a good explanation of what we're considering here, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Before talking further.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you could follow up with me and we'll get you the plans for town hall and courts.
Please.
Okay, very good. So, next up, resolutions. What do you think, Teresa?
That's fine.
All right.
A resolution assigning Deputy Town Attorney Robert Wilcox as the planning board counsel, whereas due to the resignation of Anthony Morelli from the town attorney staff, a need exists for an attorney to be assigned to the planning board, and whereas Mr. Wilcox served as the attorney for the Clifton Park Water Authority from 1996 to 2008, and was an assistant county attorney from 2008 to 2018, where he advised the sewer department, sheriff's department, probation department, as well as performing certain prosecutorial, am I saying that?
Prosecutorial.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Prosecutorial.
Gloria.
Duties on behalf of the office. And whereas Mr. Wilcox has been an assistant town attorney since January 2020 and has 6 years of experience on the Clifton Park Industrial Development Agency, and whereas Robert Wilcox has agreed to take on duties previously performed by Anthony Morelli in addition to his other assigned duties. Now therefore be it resolved that Robert Wilcox is hereby appointed as the assistant town attorney to the town planning board for the remainder of Mr. Morelli's unexpired term at a salary as budgeted, effective immediately, and be it further resolved that the sum of $5,633 be paid over the remainder of the year with a transfer from town attorney A. Morelli to town attorney R. Wilcox. A resolution awarding a contract for an indoor air ionization system at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center, whereas the town board wishes to authorize improvements to the indoor air quality of the Senior Community Center, and whereas the Department of Buildings and Grounds solicited proposals for air ionization devices to be installed within the existing HVAC system at the Senior Community Center based on a request for proposals. And whereas Siemens Industry Incorporated submitted the lowest responsive proposal to provide the system in an amount not to exceed $5,384 to be installed by town staff. And whereas the air ionization system will improve indoor air quality by reducing and controlling harmful pathogens, viruses, bacteria, and certain volatile organic compounds at the center. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign purchase orders and contract documents in an amount not to exceed $5,384, authorizing Siemens Industry Incorporated to provide the system to be paid from Clifton Park Senior Community Center equipment, and be it further resolved that the comptroller is authorized to transfer $5,384 from town hall equipment to the Clifton Park Senior Community Center equipment. A resolution adopting local law number 7 of 2020 to establish the Edison Flood Plan Development District 2 and to repeal the existing plan development district previously established for the premises by amending local law number 2 of 1967 as amended by local law number 8 of 1999 of the town code entitled local law related to zoning for the town of Clifton Park and repealing local law number 8 of 1999. Whereas an application has been presented to the town board for a change in the zoning code to establish a new plan development district encompassing the existing Edison Flood Golf Complex, reducing the number of golf holes from 27 to 28 and providing for residential housing units within the complex. And whereas the proposal includes authorization for the conversion of the existing and historic clubhouse facility and its adaptive reuse as a senior care facility, the relocation of a convenience store and gasoline pumps with direct access to the property, as well as the retention of swimming pool and tennis court facilities on the premise and the construction of a new clubhouse facility on the grounds. And whereas on January 28, 2019, the planning board provided an advisory opinion to the town board supporting the project for up to 215 residential housing units and recommending approval of zoning legislation to approve the application with recommendations for site plan detail. And whereas on September 21st, 2020, the Saratoga County Planning Board issued a review letter under section 239M of the New York State General Municipal Law recommending the approval of the zoning change with recommendations. And whereas the town board conducted a public hearing on the proposed legislation on September 21st, 2020 to receive comment for and against the proposal. And whereas the Plan Development District legislation requires that the club convey a deed of conservation easement to the town of Clifton Park over 162.9 acres of core golf course property in a form substantially compliant with Exhibit C to the legislation attached, ensuring that the property remain a golf course or recreation asset in perpetuity, providing substantial public benefits to the town. And whereas the town board has reviewed the proposed zoning amendment pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and has issued a negative declaration pursuant to the act. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board determines that the proposal is consistent with the goals of the town's comprehensive plan and with the objectives of section 20871A of the town code, and be it further resolved that local law number 8 of 1999 is hereby repealed. And be it further resolved that local law number 2 of 1967 is hereby amended, and local law number 7 of 2020 attached is hereby adopted, establishing the Edison Flood Plan Development District number 2, and be it further resolved that the planning board is directed to review appropriate mitigation measures relative to the plan phasing and access points consistent with the determination of non-significance issued by the board on September 21st, 2020. And also be it resolved that the town's zoning map is hereby amended by adoption of the supplemental zoning map attached, to be it further resolved that the town clerk file said notice with the New York State Department of State as required by law. A resolution authorizing a change order to the contract with the M. Sullivan Construction for installation of a gate at the entrance to the Bernini Drive tennis court, whereas by resolution number 175 of 2020, the town board awarded the contract to replace the tennis and basketball courts at the park on Bernini Drive to M. Sullivan Construction in the amount of $157,500, and whereas the quote submitted also included options for a front entrance gate and fencing and a gate of the east side area at costs of $1,100 and $5,700 respectively. And whereas the Blossville Park District wishes to proceed with the alternate item number 1 for a 12-foot wide double gate at the entrance to the court at a cost not to exceed $1,100. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board as commissioners for the Blossville Park District authorizes a change order for the installation of alternate item number 1 in the amount of $1,100 to be paid from Blossville Park equipment. A resolution to authorize environmental design partnerships to perform construction engineering services for the Bernini Drive Court Replacement Project. Whereas resolution number 175 of 2020 authorizes the replacement of the Tennessee basketball courts at Trinity Drive Park in the Glasgow Park District. And whereas members of the Glasgow Park District recommended that the town board accept the proposal for engineering services offered by Environmental Design Partnership as outlined at a cost not to exceed $11,000. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board as commissioner of the Glasgow Park District determines that it is in the best public interest to engage DEP for engineering construction management services, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute an agreement with Environmental Design Partnership for professional engineering services for the Bernini Drive Port Replacement Project. And be it further resolved that the comptroller is authorized to transfer $11,000 from Glasgow Park District equipment to the Glasgow Park District Engineering for Engineering Services relative to the project to be paid from Glasgow Park District Engineering. A resolution authorizing the Clifton Park Town Court to submit an application for a Justice Court Assistance Program grant. Whereas the Clifton Park Town Court wishes to acquire cement pillars, windows, and chairs, and computer backup batteries, and whereas the Justice Court Assistance Program was established by the legislature to provide means by which town and villages may obtain limited state funding to improve operations of their justice courts, and whereas the Clifton Park Town Court wishes to apply for a grant of approximately $4,879 from the Justice Court Assistance Program to purchase the aforementioned equipment to improve security and operations at the Clifton Park Town Court. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Clifton Park Town Board authorizes the Clifton Park Town Board to apply for a JCAP grant in the 2019-2020 grant cycle for up to $4,879, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute all necessary documents in support of such efforts, and be it further resolved that the comptroller is instructed that revenue shall be increased by $4,879 in New York State grant revenue, and expenditures shall be increased by $4,879, with the expense of $2,879 for cement pillars and window tinting to be paid from public safety building general maintenance, and $2,000 for chairs and computer backup batteries be paid from municipal court equipment. Resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract for engineering services, whereas the planning director, John Scotto, has recommended the establishment of a safe crosswalk on Usher's Road between the multi-use path and Wooddale Drive. And whereas the town board wishes to proceed with professional engineering services necessary for the project, and whereas the planning director recommends that the engineering services contract be awarded to William Peterson Incorporated based on their initial response to the town's request for expressions of interest in their preliminary design and support of the Usher's Road Crosswalk project. And whereas the town board wishes to fund the design services for the project with local funds. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign the attached engineering consulting agreement for design services with GPI in an amount not to exceed $6,960.20 from Trails Equipment. A resolution appointing Paula Cooper to the position of Secretary for the Emergency Services Advisory Board and the Fire Code of Appeals Board for the Town of Clifton Park. Whereas as of September 16, 2020, a vacancy exists for the position of Secretary to the ESAB and Fire Code of Appeals Board with the resignation of Millicent Miller from the position. And whereas Paula Cooper, 45 Old Route 146, Clifton Park, is recommended to fill the vacant position. Now therefore be it resolved that Paula Cooper is hereby appointed Secretary to the above mentioned boards for the remainder of the one-year term to expire December 31st, 2020, and be it further resolved that the position be compensated $500 per year as budgeted to be paid from General Fund ESAB Secretary, and be it further resolved that this appointment shall take effect immediately.
Okay, any questions on the resolutions?
We may want to wait till I get to it, but I have one question about the, Frame Development District for, the project. Just a little wording
Oh, go
question.
ahead.
On the Edison Club, on the second whereas, it states senior care facility.
In the legislation itself, or the resolution.
And after some controversy at the public hearing, is senior care facility, is that assisted living, is it?
I think you're talking about the resolution to adopt the legislation?
Yes.
Uh,
Or will that be resolved, the planning?
it's a broad authority. I mean, the legislation controls. So the legislation is area C on page 2 of the legislation itself. Area is proposed as a senior care facility as well as uses currently permitted in the Hamlet mixed-use zone. So I think a senior care facility is a very broad authorization, and the planning board's site plan and process will more definitively zero in on what type of facility they're proposing in their.
It got some discussion at the public hearing, I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, this is just a broad, very broad based authorization.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Teresa, could you read the headings, please?
Resolution number 178 of 2020, a resolution assigning Deputy Town Attorney Robert Wilcox as the planning board counsel. So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sandar, second by Mr. Whalen. It was a tie. So Bob has a long history in public administration here at the town as well as the county. He has been on the town attorney team. He was the attorney for the Water Authority for a lengthy period of time, the IDA, as well as currently in the town courts. So he's somebody that is very familiar with how the town operates and how departments work together and the inner workings of not only the town itself, but partner organizations such as the Water Authority and the courts. He has a lengthy record of experience at the county and working he was the attorney for the sewer district, reporting to the Board of Commissioners, which deals with a lot of land use, properties, easements, contracts. There's a tremendous amount of that type of work within the very large and growing sewer district, as you might imagine, throughout the county. Also did work for the treasurer's office, juvenile court. Did I leave one out?
I believe, I didn't put it in the resolution, but I believe he was in the Webster County Attorney's Office for a little while, and maybe even been a corporation counsel with one of the municipalities in Webster County as well.
Oh, okay. So, and I want to thank Bob for, quickly accepting the role as planning board attorney, as somebody, again, who knows the players within the town and will fit seamlessly into that position, taking the place of Councilman Morelli. As Councilman Morelli can attest, the planning board meetings can be rather lengthy. So, but Bob was willing to take on that assignment and responsibility on pretty short notice, and we appreciate him stepping up and helping the team very much. So again, between thanking him for stepping forward and helping the team, as well as his very broad and diverse professional background, I think he'll do a great job in the role of any board attorney or any attorney's position that he might be involved with the town or any municipal organization. He's certainly proven that he can be very flexible and work with any type of organization and legal discipline. So I want to thank Bob, and he's got some big shoes to fill. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Rowland?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sandor?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallach?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 179 of 2020, a resolution awarding the contract for an indoor air ionization system at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Ms. Wallowit, and I just think this is a great option for us to do more in as much as possible to protect folks visiting the center. Like I said, we're going to be dealing with COVID for a long time, but there's plenty of other particles that are in the air that are much better if they're not breathed in by the 1,500 members that frequent the center. Ms. Wallowit has very good suggestions, so we'll certainly quickly begin to consider other buildings as well. But this will also give our folks an opportunity to get an installation under their belt, to see exactly how it works. They can get a good feel for the system. So it is getting cold. It is getting cold. So I know the seniors are very eager to come inside and do more activities. We want to make it as safe as possible and open on a gradual basis. Okay, any questions? Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowit?
Yes.
Supervisor Barry?
Yes, I would note that, yes, we will give them the information they're looking for so they can analyze what's going on, but those the other buildings will need to be bid as well. So that there will be that process once again. Okay, Teresa?
Resolution number 178 of 2020, a resolution adopting local law number 7 of 2020 to establish the Edison Club Plan Development District 2 and to repeal the existing Plan Development District previously established for the premises by amending local law number 2 of 1967 as amended by local law number 8 of 1999 of the town code entitled Local Law Relating to Zoning for the Town of Clifton Park and repealing local law number 8 of 1999.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. I'm going to invite John in case anybody has any questions or anything John would like to add. I did have a couple of questions for him. But just very brief, we went through the public hearing. I want to thank everybody that came to the public hearing, which was over at the Clifton Park Senior Community Center. We had a fair number of speakers. Have we received any correspondence since the public hearing? No.
I have not.
So what's included? Well, that if this were approved, at the end of the day, John, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to have an 18-hole golf course plus at least 2 practice holes, right?
Correct.
So 20 holes overall. New clubhouse with practice green, short game practice area, and practice tee. There's a practice range existing that will stay, right? There will be 2 new tennis courts, 2 new pickleball courts. Boy, and our pickleball courts, I mean, since the Y is, been limited, ours are being used a tremendous amount. Maintenance and equipment area, existing and new. Parking area, I guess there's gonna be a new parking area. Outdoor pool, which they currently have now, and other ancillary recreational uses. Now, the total amount of acreage across the entire facility is 286. If this were approved, 163 acres would be permanently preserved. I think another item I'd like to stress that I talked about at the public hearing was with regard to competition between highest and best uses. In today's day and age, in Clifton Park and sure just about anywhere, if it's a competition between housing and a golf course, highest and best use, 10 times out of 10 is going to be housing. And with this 163 acres that'll be permanently reserved, it basically eliminates the competition for highest and best use. So the the odds that it would remain a golf course, even if the Edison Club encountered difficulties and could no longer continue, the odds of it continuing to be a golf course are greatly improved if we take this step here and approve the PDD tonight. There will be residential development that we've discussed, senior care facility. There was some discussion at the public hearing about a certificate of need and when you need a certificate of need, depending on the kind of care that you're providing, and also if you're applying medical treatment of certain types. It was mentioned by the gentleman that's here tonight, I recognize him from the public hearing, he operates these facilities. He said he does not need a certificate of need, it's not required. But it's still something that, should be discussed through the planning process to make sure we understand exactly what they're looking to do and what is needed as far as licensing. They'll also be selling a small amount of property to Stewart's. Stewart's will be pulling their store back. They're taking that one completely down, right?
It'll be
They're gonna demolish what they have, they're gonna pull it back off the intersection, and also the entrances will be pushed back, and it'll be a much safer area by that busy intersection. And one thing we really didn't touch on with any great detail was the effect on sewer in the area. Now, several years ago, probably going back 8 or 9 years ago now, the town, we were able to win a significant grant. It was a partnership between the town of Clifton Park, town of Glenville, city of Schenectady, Niskayuna School District, and I think that was it, right? Those were the partnerships. We were able to get a shared services grant, which was a great thing for the sewer in that area. And Olnott Farm, who was facing those folks who are a small sewer system, had many problems in the past, went bankrupt basically. The town ended up taking it over years ago, and that was a great help to them because we were able to eliminate their processing plant, which is where the expense was to a great extent and where the huge increases would have come down the road. So we were able to help all those folks involved with the Knott Road Sewer District save them thousands and thousands of dollars through that grant and that project. But if there's development along the 9 holes or so here on the area of the golf course closer to 146 there, they will be part of Olnott Farm, right?
Correct. More than likely, they'll tie into that system. It appears to be the closest tie-in point. They'll do a engineer's sanitary sewer analysis as part of the site plan approval process for any of the projects going forward.
And if that is indeed the case, and they end up adding more people paying into the Olnott Farm sewer system, that again will be a tremendous addition for the people that are currently in the district, because through economies of scale, the more people you add in, the more people paying, the less of a burden it is for everybody. So that was something we really didn't spend much time on, but that will be a great benefit to many people in that area of town. What else should we mention here? I want to make sure I don't miss anything.
I think you did a good job covering it. I do think that the 4 development areas, whether it's the residential component on the 76.7 acres, the senior care facility, Stewart's, or the new clubhouse, tennis, pickleball courts on the area of the remaining 18 full golf course plus 2 practice holes, they could come in potentially as their own individual site plans at any point before the planning board. So it may not be one common plan as the PDD shown, and separate approvals may be sought by the various entities that are called out within the PDD legislation. I'd say the next step, more than likely, is going to be a lot line adjustment between Stewart's Corporation and the Edison Club for the transfer of land, because that can be handled administratively through a lot line review process and filed pretty quickly. Under the site plan review process, it'll give the town the opportunity to work with the applicants and the applicants' design professionals to look at detailed plans relative to utilities, which include water and sewer. We'll look at grading plans on cut and fill lines. We'll look at areas of clearing and to the extent of vegetative buffers and the preservations will be clearly defined on the plan. Stormwater management is probably one of the biggest issues in the last decade that dictates site design. We'll get into stormwater analysis for each site. We'll look at lighting. We'll look at waste receptacles and how waste will be handled. We'll look at an overall landscaping plan, and we'll look at road profile and details. While the Edison Club is proposing a private road through the community, it will be built to a standard that will ensure it can last as if it was built to a town road standard to handle the type of traffic that is anticipated. And in addition to that, the planning board will define a phasing plan. Under the stormwater regulations in New York State, you cannot have more than 5 acres of land disturbed or under construction at any given time without having areas of previous construction at least stabilized. So we get into that phasing plan and sequencing of construction. Construction is what's known as a temporary inconvenience. There tends to be noise, vibrations, odors that are common with construction that use best management practices are again temporary in nature. But we will get into the details of defining that for each one of the projects as they appear before the planning board.
All right, very good. Anything else you want to mention, John, about the project or the upcoming planning process that may occur if we approve this evening?
Just that if folks are interested in following the process, again, there's no time frame for any one of these projects after the potential adoption to come before the planning board. But you can go to cliftonpark.org, click on the alerts tab, and select planning board meeting minutes and agendas, and you will automatically receive an alert every time the planning board sets a draft agenda, so you can follow any items of interest within the community that may be before the board.
Now, the representatives from the Edison Club first came to a town board meeting to present the idea of a bundled golf community, what, about 3 years ago?
2017.
2017. So this has been something that's been presented here, talked about multiple times. I think it's changed somewhat from that first idea that was presented to us in 2017. But that process led to the public hearing a couple of weeks ago, and now to a vote by the town board on the PDD itself. Any questions for John? Any comments? All right, John, thank you. If there's nothing else, very good. All right, Teresa?
Councilman Railing?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Wallach?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 179 of 2020, a resolution authorizing a change order to the contract with M. Sullivan Construction for installation of a gate at the entrance to the Bernini Drive tennis court.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mrs. Standard. Discussion. Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallach? Yes. Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 180 of 2020, a resolution to authorize environmental design partnership to perform construction engineering services for the Bernini Drive court replacement project.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. Discussion. Okay, Susan?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallach?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 181 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the Clifton Park Town Board to submit an application for a Justice Court Assistance Program grant.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mrs. Standard. Discussion. Okay, Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Morelli? Councilwoman Wallach?
Yes.
Sorry, Supervisor Barrett.
Yeah. Okay, next.
Resolution number 182 of 2020, a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign a contract for engineering services.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Standard, second by Mr. Whalen. You know, I do want to say, Teresa, I just got through saying that he's well-known and he knows the departments, you know, how they work together.
We'll get there, Teresa.
Where's John? There he is. Come on up, sir. So, now, many of you that enjoy the trail network may have noticed that over the last few years, we've been adding the new signals and lights, reflector beacons, as they're called, which is a tremendous upgrade from just the standard signs, static signs that we had in place prior. Now, this was one area, John, that had some issues, right? I mean, there were several other areas that were identified where we could just go ahead and place the beacons. But this particular area, which I think is an important one, I think would be heavily used. Some additional work is required. Could you describe that?
Yes, installing, the crosswalks, the ADA compliant landings, and what's known as the RRFBs, which is rectangular rapid flashing beacons. The town highway department and Highway Superintendent Dan Bull have basically got down pat, and we can use in-house labor for those installations, which save us labor costs 100%. And we're just looking at equipment and material costs to do those installs. But at the Ushers Road Trail and Wooddale Drive intersection, the challenge is the vertical difference in topography of where the trail elevation is relative to Ushers Road. And as part of the New York State accessibility requirements that we have to follow, we can't exceed a 5% vertical slope and 2% cross slope. So we really need to engage the services of a design professional that will help shoot the elevations, come up with a design that complies with the accessibility requirements, and provide that data to the highway department, who then could work with the engineers to mark out the appropriate elevations, and again, implement the actual construction of those plans once they're stamped and certified by a licensed engineer.
Okay. Very good. While I got you there on the same subject, the PSAP
Yes,
grants, getting those projects underway, which were $440,000 grant that the town won to construct some sidewalks in strategic areas in the Exit 9 area.
yes. So the pedestrian safety action plan, the delay with that, it's really not a delay. It's one of those unavoidable consequences of any design project, is figuring out how much land you actually need for the improvements at each intersection. And once we got into full design, we realized that there were 4 very minor property takings from adjacent property owners that are very supportive of the PSAP grant. They feel that it will benefit their properties and clients within their properties. But it is a process that we have to go through and follow the state guidelines. We've been working with GPI engineers or consulting engineers. And today at 4 o'clock, they delivered the agreement to basically make just compensation offers to 3 of the owners, and they've executed the documents. So they're just here, it arrived today for the town signature, and I'll be doing a voucher this week to cut the checks for the areas. And then the fourth property, unfortunately, because of mortgage commitments, had to go through what we're calling a friendly eminent domain process, where to get the releases on the mortgage, we're going through an eminent domain proceeding, but that should hopefully be wrapped up late fall, and that will allow us to get DOT approval. We actually think we can get DOT approval this month to go to final design, once we execute the 3 documents that came in today, because the condemnation process, once it starts, you really can't stop it. So it's just a timing thing for the court. So we do feel we'll get the clearance to go to final design. All necessary approvals should be in place to submit the final design drawings and have those in by November, with New York State DOT getting back to us in December with any additional comments. And then we can go out to bid for spring of next year construction.
Yeah, speaking of delays, Sibley Road, we're ahead of schedule on construction. However, due to some delays with utility relocation and utility work, we had to extend the closure of the intersection, which I know has been a source of frustration. And I know particularly people in Half Moon that live in Deer Run Hollow have been experiencing, obviously traffic as people detour through the neighborhood. I've been keeping in contact with Kevin Tolles, the supervisor at Half Moon, about that situation. They have placed, they did this days ago, I don't remember exactly when, but he had told me that they were placing signage on Wooden Road that said no outlet. That the sheriff was doing additional patrols in and around Deer Run Hollow. So I know Half Moon's been taking that very seriously. Now, those utility work that was delayed, even though these schedules are discussed for years, which is a tremendous source of frustration for us. But we're at a point now where they're going to start pouring the sidewalks, and they're able to work around what's remaining with the utility work, right?
Correct. On Friday, Spectrum and First Light Communications were out there finishing up their overhead line connections from an old pole to a new service pole. And today, Verizon was also on site, hopefully finishing up their work this week. But Newcastle Paving, our contractor, will be going in and pouring sidewalks this week to start that, and then the sub-base and base pavement in the lanes will go down. I hate to say on a road project, the road's the easy part, but it's true. The road, we'll get that done as soon as the utilities and the private companies are out of the way for the contractor to do what he needs to finish.
Yeah.
And we're looking at October 17th to basically complete the work to allow the road reopening shortly thereafter.
Yeah, that might change, hopefully sooner than later.
Yep.
As far as the time frame is concerned, but yeah, it's just very frustrating working with the utilities. All right, any questions for John? Yeah. Teresa?
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Barrett?
Yes.
Resolution number 183 of 2020, a resolution appointing Paula Cooper to the position of Secretary for the Emergency Services Advisory Board and the Fire Code Appeals Board for the town of Clifton Park.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Wallowitz, second by Mrs. Standard, and we wish Millicent Miller well. She's been the longtime Secretary of the Emergency Services Advisory Board, and Mr. Atwell is going to remain as chair. And of course, he was sad to see Millicent decide to resign, but wished her luck. Still see her around town quite a bit. But Paula Cooper is somebody that has done a great job as secretary to other boards. And I think compared to some of her other assignments like planning, right, zoning, I think this will be a little easier than the planning board. I think she'll do just fine.
She does a really good job.
Yeah, she really does. Okay, any questions about Paula discussion? Okay. Teresa?
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallach?
Yes.
Supervisor Barry?
Yes, any other business for the board this evening? Okay, I do want to mention, John Scher, he had bits of Clifton Park history, which was a tremendous book about the history of Clifton Park. And now, I guess you can call this volume 2, more bits of Clifton Park history. The book is just a treasure trove of incredible historic information and pictures. It's available in the Parks and Rec office for sale, and would make a very good holiday gift, right? So pick one up for somebody you love. They'll love you for it. Public privilege, John, did you? No? Mr. Tyro? All right, so with that,
Motion to adjourn?
second by Mr. Whalen. Teresa?
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Standard?
Yes.
Councilman Morelli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallach?
Yes.
Supervisor Barry?
Yes, thank you.